Who's the chair? Oh, okay.
I am.
You ready?
In 2 seconds.
Okay.
You ready, Kathy?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to call this utility committee meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. Heather, would you help us out there?
Sure. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Kathy, will you do a roll call, please?
Walther,
Here?
Jefferson,
Here. All right, and we currently do not have a third member of the committee. Hopefully that will get remedied soon. And with that, Chris, would you mind taking us through the water tower maintenance program?
Absolutely. You'll notice in the packets I've handed out to you, the very first sheet is a spreadsheet comparing costs, and the behind that is the proposal that was offered up by Suez Advanced Water Technologies. So we've talked a little bit in the past about the condition of our water towers and the maintenance that they need. So we went through an RFP process to basically outline an all-inclusive 10-year maintenance program, which would include painting inside and out, the annual visual inspection, tri-annual washout services that are a part of the EPA's asset management program, and any emergency repairs, which we actually just experienced a couple weeks ago. We had a weld that was leaking and had to get that repaired. That would all be included in these proposals. We got 3 responses. One of the responses only wanted to do paint. They didn't want to do any of the maintenance or inspections or that kind of thing. So we did not consider them because they didn't meet the scope requirements for the proposal. The other 2 responses are the dollar amounts are listed on this spreadsheet in front of you. The bottom line of each category tells you the total for each of the 10 years, and then all the way to the right is the grand total of the proposal from them. Both proposals are similar in scope, very similar in scope. They're both basically offering to do the same services. The difference being cost. Practical inspection is a little bit less than Suez is. I would prefer to use Suez based off of 2 things. One is their track record of doing these type of programs. They do this for a litany of communities across the country, several of them in central Ohio. This is kind of what they do. Practical inspection is mainly a mixing device installer in a tank. So a lot of tanks in the industry will have a giant mixer in them. That is most of their previous work that they submitted as reference points, which is not exactly the same thing. The other concern I had is that Practical Inspection is although a reputable company, they are a very small business. There are basically 2 people at the top, and then they have some contractors under them. Suez is a very large business, and when we're looking at potential of going into an agreement with somebody for 10 years, I think that the difference in price is mitigated by the peace of mind that comes with a company that does this for a living, and that I feel comfortable with will still be there 10 years from now. I don't think there's an issue of their finances going under for Suez, which is a concern for me for Practical Inspection. So my recommendation would be to enter into this agreement with Suez. That would be my preference. But my goal would be to get a recommendation from the Utility Committee. As on the meeting tonight, I do have a resolution which can easily be pulled if the Utility Committee would like to go a different direction. But the reason I want to get the ball kind of rolling is that summer slots are filling up for painting towers, and summer is the perfect time for us to fill up the tower because we have a sister tower right next to it. We can still conduct operations, and other utilities cannot. So the winter months are basically, they're not completely full, but they're basically full already, because most towers need the cooler, most systems need the cooler weather to take their tower out of service, get the painting done, whatever work needs done, then put it back in. We're unique because we have 2 towers that can work together with each other. So we have the ability to do it in the summer when scheduling is a little bit lighter. So that's a real quick summary of a involved process, but that's basically where we are with that.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Jefferson?
I know that you said Suez is your preferred, but with the practical inspections, did they offer any of the maintenance like Suez did?
Yes, the services provided by the two are almost identical. They offered all the maintenance services, all the inspections, the washout services that Suez offer as well. So they're very similar in scope.
So I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
So I see we have a year 3, a year 6, and a year 6 scope of work for number 3. Right? It says scope of work number 3. I assume that's the tower, it says Southeast Tower.
Do you know what page you're?
I'm on the last page of their presentation.
Oh, I got you. I'm good.
Yeah. So one of the questions I had when I was reviewing the your report for council was, the first question I have is the emergency repairs that are included. That seems like an awfully large unknown for them and for us. Is there any cap on that? Could that be
There is
once a week, every week, or what is the cap on that?
So they have come out to the towers and analyzed the towers before they put this proposal together. There is no maintenance cap. There is any maintenance that comes up would be their responsibility through this program. That's as far as we've discussed. I would imagine that if the tower fell over, there may be a different
That's where
discussion.
I was going next.
Maybe a
is,
different
you know,
discussion to have. But as
one
far as
leg
what we would
comes out.
consider routine emergency maintenance, there is no limit. If we have a leak every week, it's on them to come out and fix that leak every week.
So the next part of that would be who determines what maintenance needs to happen?
So it's a joint effort between the two of us. Routine maintenance, they would come through in their annual inspection and give us a report recommending these different maintenance items that need done. As we do a weekly tower inspection of every tower. We go out and look for leaks, which is how we found the most recent one. If we went out and found an emergency leak, it would be our discretion. We would say, hey, we've got a leak here, we need you to come fix it. Because we have worked with Suez in the past, that is who we used for the last week, and to give you a time frame on their turnaround, we found the leak Friday afternoon at around 3:30, and they were in the tower Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock making the repair. The reason they couldn't do it Monday is because the tower has to be empty to weld. So we spent Monday emptying the tower and Tuesday welding.
And the fix that they did do, is that credited against this, or is that gonna be its own invoice?
That is its own invoice, yes, sir.
That's convenient. Okay.
It was poor timing to have a leak, yes.
So the other question I had was, in looking at your report, was how do we, so if we're paying them $156,000 and change every year, when do they actually perform the major work? When I mean major work, the cleaning and the painting part. It looks like on this one, it shows them doing that year 6.
So it does for Southeast Tower, yes. So there is, page 11 in their presentation is a color-coded schedule of work. Basically, we've gone through and looked at the towers and kind of prioritized them based on their current condition. So Beechwood Trails Tower 1 is the main priority it's not in the worst condition, but it is in bad shape, still able to overcoat. So we do not have to blast that down to bare metal before we can paint that one. You only get, you only get so long. The longer you wait, the more likely you are to get the blasting point. So we'll do that one first, basically to get the most bang for your buck. Year 3 for the Southeast Tower is the exterior renovation. Southeast Tower is in pretty decent shape. We just got it cleaned and did some spot painting last year. The reason Beechwood Trails 2 waits all the way until year 5 is that it's already a lost cause for the paint to not need to be blasted down. We're in no danger right now of losing metal, but if we do it today or if we do it 5 years from now, you've got to blast it all the way down, which is, when I priced them individually, that was the $880,000 project for that.
So in essence, when we're taking this 10-year payment, And what is our guarantee, another question, what is our guarantee that in year 3, these guys don't go out of business and we've paid them $450,000 and they've done one exterior renovation and washed out and done some emergency repairs? What's our guarantee?
So that would all have to be worked out in the contract that we would sign from them. And I do not have a sample contract with them at this point. What I'm asking for is permission to go into an agreement with them, but that agreement would have to cover all of these type of things. So it's not a part of the proposal that they have given us. That being said, so the guarantee would have to be in the contract. My comfort level comes from the amount of, the length of time that they've been doing this type of thing, and the amount of communities that they're doing it for currently.
Okay. All right. I was just gonna look up the resolution. I took it as this was a resolution to enter into an agreement with them rather than to negotiate an agreement with them. So I wanna make sure that.
So that is what the resolution is to enter into an agreement. That agreement has not been, the fine details of that agreement has not been worked out.
Okay. It says to execute a contract. So I'm not sure, okay. So that gives me a little bit of concern, obviously.
Right.
Without those kind of answers, I don't know that I would wanna have that answer. I think that'd be a good answer to have. Do you feel that, in your research, I'm not trying to micromanage at all, I'm just asking, in your research of these guys, have they had any, claims on them, or other, cities that have said, they didn't do what they said they didn't do, or whatever?
In the research that I've put in, the phone calls I've made, there is 0 complaints about the level of work they do. They're a pretty big and well-known company. They're, you see them at all the conferences that we go to. They have a very good reputation in the industry for the work that they do.
Another question for you. With regards to emergency services or the annual inspections they do, obviously if they find anything that needs work done, they're gonna work on it. What happens if, when your inspections and their inspections don't mix, and, do you think, you'll get any headbutts from them if you say there's work that needs done and they're not wanting to do it because it wasn't in their annual inspection?
No, I don't. So the big part of this is putting the responsibility of maintaining the tower on the company. So it would be in their best interest to make repairs as they're identified before they escalate, because they're gonna be responsible for the repair in the long run. So in my relationship with the people that I've spoken with, that I've dealt with at Suez, and in the reflection of the industry, they are not difficult to work with at all. At no point have I had any indication that it would be, that if we said we want this to be repaired, that would not happen. They are still our towers, and we, as with all contracts, would have an exit clause on this kind of thing, so it's still ours, it's still our call. The benefit is they're gonna be climbing the tower every year and looking up top where we don't go up there.
Right. Well, it sounds like the devil's gonna be in the details with the contract.
Yeah.
Especially with regards to Mr. Walter's concern of, if they happen to go under in 3 years, what do we get for the money that we put into that point?
Yeah. And there's also a tough, at year 6, we put in, we're at $900,000, and, it's kind of hard to hold that money back. My experience with contractors is if they don't do a good job, they don't get paid in full. Well, if they've already got $900,000, it's
Right.
hard to pull that money back out of them, for
Right.
doing the work if they did a crummy job. I'm not
Right.
saying they're going to, I have no idea, I've never worked with this group.
No, the concern is understood and valid. I can't speak highly enough about the way they're viewed for this type of a program in the industry, but those concerns are valid.
Any other questions?
And in your opinion, you believe this to be the best route versus going straight up and having them done ourselves through separate contractors?
In my opinion, I do believe so, yes. We will be very similar to the same price by the time we go through each tower and paint them individually, and that is kind of a one and done thing. So we're getting 3 services done, but we're losing out on the washout service, which will still have to be contracted out for a company can do that. The annual inspection, we will still have to have a contractor come out, climb the tower, and give the inspection report. And then there's the maintenance issues that may come up as well. So in my opinion, it is definitely better to go with a maintenance style program.
And for my education, is it 3 towers we have or 4?
We have 4.
Okay.
The Headley Mills Tower was recently redone inside and out and is in great shape. So that is not included in this 10-year.
So any emergency maintenance or anything on that tower will come out?
Would be
separate?
in addition to, yes.
Yeah. Chris, I'll tell you, I would feel a lot better knowing what the contract said.
So we can easily do that. I can reach out to them, and get the contract, and so the next meeting will be April 6th.
And I understand your timing. I'm not trying to throw a curveball at you.
No, I understand, yeah, right. So is the contract something that utility committee would like to see in person in another meeting, or would an email of that contract and then maybe subsequent questions, would that suffice?
I think it's not really, I don't know that it's our opinion that really matters,
Right, it's
quite
probably
frankly.
more-
I think it's more what has to do with Mr.
Yeah.
Jets and
Mhm.
Mr. Nicholson's opinion of, being able to commit to this 10-year with whatever amount of risk there might be in that contract, which I don't know what risk is in that,
Right.
quite frankly.
Right.
And Mr. Zets saying that, that is also appropriate to do.
So I think we could easily get a copy of the contract, run it through Mr. Zetz and Mr. Nicholson, who are aware of this concept and what we've been doing, or what we've been talking about. And then maybe pull it from the agenda for tonight, and then put it back on the agenda for April 6th.
Yeah, I think that that's safe to do, yeah.
We can do
And,
that.
and I know you had mentioned in your report, I was just looking for the number, you said something about, there's 300,000 budgeted this year, is that correct?
Yes, this year and next year.
300,000 next year,
Yes.
okay. And so, for Jamie, obviously, that covers 4 years,
Mhm.
and so he's gonna rework the utility budget, rework the line, do all that good stuff?
Yeah, I believe, yeah, so that was, what he likes about it is, instead of dropping 300 now, and next year is spreading that cost across the budgets, to have a more accurate depiction of the budget fund.
I agree, I like that too.
Yeah.
So that, I think there's a lot of pluses. If we were to pull it from tonight's agenda, or if we were to suggest to pull it from tonight, it's your call.
Right.
If you were to do that, does that put you in a bad spot with trying to get this thing completed? I mean, obviously, the first year, we've got exterior restoration and some, visual inspection and repairs on the other two. How much does that cause you problems?
So the
I mean, obviously, we're paying for repairs as they happen right now.
Right,
So
right,
the sooner
exactly.
we get this under contract, the sooner we don't have to pay for those.
The better
individual
off we'll
repairs.
be, absolutely. And the big driver for this is getting it scheduled in summer. So, they tentatively, they'll hold a spot for me, in their scheduling for summer, but that's only gonna last so long. But I personally do not believe that 2 additional weeks is going to, cause that to not go forward. I think that we can do that by the April 6th meeting and still accomplish, getting that first tower painted this summer, and starting the program from there. So, those are valid points, and they make perfect sense to me. I have no issue, requesting that it not, be voted on, that it, would it be tabled?
We just wouldn't bring it up
We
tonight.
just-
We'd
yeah.
take
Pull it
it
from
off
the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that would put me in a bind, that would hinder the program.
Because otherwise we'd have to rewrite it would have to be something where it's on approval from, yeah.
That makes
I would
perfect-
feel
be a
comfortable
lot
with
cleaner.
that. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah, I
Yep.
would just feel more comfortable with that, just so there's no curveball in there that we gotta come back and
No,
explain.
That makes perfect sense. We can definitely do that.
I mean, I think this is a good solution to our problem. I certainly think that, it's well thought out, and, I'm not opposed to it. I
Right.
just wanna make sure we're not,
No, absolutely.
Everybody's
Absolutely.
comfortable.
I appreciate the guidance there, and I agree with that approach. It's not gonna cause a problem, so.
okay. Any other questions on that?
No, thank you for your work on this, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, Chris, on to well cleaning.
As we go into the well cleaning project, we budgeted $25,000 this year. This year is Water Treatment Plant 2's turn in the well cleaning program. There are 2 wells over there, and we received 3 different quotes for that well cleaning program. You'll see those quotes stapled together as the next spot in your packet. The top quote with Moody's is $14,050. Second quote is from Mount Drilling, $18,822. And the third quote is from Jameson at $38,250. Their quote came in exceptionally high. They are the company that did Water Plant 1 last year, and 2018 into 2019. And to be quite frankly, we had a difficult time getting our well back into service after they did it. So I'm not disappointed that the bid came as high as it did. The other 2, Moody's and Mount, at different timeframes since I've been with the city, have done work on our wells, and we've had no issue with either of the companies. So my anticipation is to, at the April 6th meeting, bring a resolution to council to authorize going into contract with Moody's for the well cleaning program that will be scheduled to happen later this year, as we fit in the schedule.
What was the budget? Is this a line item?
Yes, we budgeted $25,000 this year for that.
I know you just said that, but it was in thought.
So Aaron would consider, he would consider this to be, or not Aaron, Alan, consider this to be quite a big savings.
Yes, sir. It's quite a big savings from the budget line.
Quite a big savings from the budget line. 2 questions I have for you on this. I see there's a few items on here that Moody's goes into a lot more detail
They do.
on what they're doing. Do you feel Mount would do the same thing? Are they?
I do. I definitely.
So everybody's doing the remove pump,
Yes.
mob, demob rig, and they're reinstalling pump.
Right. It's in accordance with the AWWA standards. They all pretty much have the same
Okay.
proposal.
Okay.
So,
And when I saw on the one over here, it says video before and after. Is Moody's, because they've got 2 each, I know you said there's 2 wells, are they videoing it before and after, or just once?
They are videoing before and after, as is protocol of the AWWA standard. But I can see that they wrote down 2 each videos of the well. But I believe they mean complete video cycles.
Okay.
Is it what
That's all I got.
how I would order it.
I would vote on the $14,050
That
one.
is, I definitely think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Especially if we've used them before and we
And
haven't
we
had
have.
any issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So, excellent.
All right. And now, any other questions on that?
No.
The WRF upgrade project?
So the WRF, as you may remember, it was a long process. We got the PTI approved from the EPA. We are putting the project out to bid. The advertisement for that is going on right now. The upgrade I wanted to give to Utility Committee is, so we've had 3 different crews from the EPA that have analyzed this project from the beginning. There's been complete turnover over there. At the beginning, the guidance that they gave us was that we would have a 0% loan for 100% of the construction of this upgrade, with the exception of possibly the VFDs at the lift stations that were like alternate A, because those VFDs are not exactly, they don't directly affect the phosphorus removal, and that's how we're getting a 0% loan. The new guidance is verbatim, the percentage of phosphorus reduction that the upgrade accomplishes is the percentage of the cost that will go, that will qualify for the 0% interest loan. So in trying to find out exactly how they would decipher that and how we could plan for that, they will not make that decision until a bid that has been selected is sent to them, so they can look at the cost of all that. I have verbal assurance that these things always come in the 85 to 95% coverage, because nutrient reduction is such a hot topic with the EPA. I do not and was unable to get documented assurance of that fact. So at this point, it is kind of in limbo until we can submit to them a bid for the project. And So we won't know exactly what qualifies for 0% until they see the contractor's bid, which is different from where we've been with this whole process up to this point. So that, I just found that out last week and wanted to let utility committee and council know where we stand as of now with them.
When are you expecting bids to come in?
So the bids are open until April 10th.
So the bid opening is April 10th?
Yes, yes, sir.
And you probably know this already, but the Ohio EPA is closed.
Yes, they are.
And they, who know, Trump said today could be July or August.
Yes, they are.
And I would imagine our bids are good for 60 days,
60 days,
typical,
yes.
for us to do a
Default.
notice of award.
You can request an extension, but yes, 60 days. So there are many things that are in limbo.
So
at
would
this
it make,
point.
so would it make sense to put out an addendum that says, we're gonna hold off on this bid coming in until the EPA's back in, and these are, I'm just throwing this out as a question. We're gonna hold off until the EPA's back in working, so that we can just, because if they came back at 85%, that's 15% of $1 million that we gotta pay.
Correct,
And it's, that won't be subject to the zero interest loan, and I think,
correct.
and I won't speak for everybody, but a lot of the discussion was, hey, zero interest is good versus spending our own, spending our own money initially, but money that, with no cost essentially, to it made sense.
And 100% is accurate. If it does come in up to 20%, we'll land at $200,000 payment, which is what we are anticipating our annual payments being for the length of the loan. So we could do the up to 20% as our first annual payment, and then the rest from there, because the payments aren't due until July of the following year, after the project starts. That being said, that is not the language that we have been selling this program under the whole time. You're 100% correct. We've been saying it's 0% interest because that was the information that we had available. With the new personnel, they have a different take on this. So I do see we could, maybe before I issue an addendum, I could reach out to the EPA in light of these new.
You can't reach out to the EPA.
Well, I could reach out to people I know that work at the EPA personally and see what they're thinking their timeline is, maybe what they're hearing. But yeah, this, as with every other aspect, this COVID-19 situation is one more monkey wrench that we'll have to deal with. And with their different interpretation here at the 11th hour, makes it that much more difficult. So,
Any comments, Mr. Jefferson? I know that this was something that was talked about before you were on council, so if you have any questions of what this is about, or what the arrangements were for this loan and what we've done.
The loan stuff I'm a little shady on. The project itself I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah, so from what I'm gathering is we were initially gonna get a 0% interest loan, up until recently.
For the full amount.
Right, and up until recently, that has changed, maybe because of new leadership or whatever at the EPA, and they're not gonna tell us what we're gonna get percentage-wise until we get bids, correct?
correct. So until they see the full bid, that's when they'll evaluate how much of that will apply to the 0% interest loan. Now, the design and the engineering is not susceptible to that. That is 100% 0%, 0% interest loan for that portion. It's only the construction phase, which is the largest phase, that this different interpretation applies.
And I'm assuming since it's been kind of a recent change, there's no historical precedents at other cities and or organizations that may have received the loan recently?
So I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I have not asked around about other people going through the same type of experience.
So Chris, I know there was a lot of discussion about being able to qualify for the loan, when that timing all had to happen and so forth. Can you remind us when we have to have our bids and everything ready for Ohio EPA to bless the project so that we would receive a loan?
So that, when we originally started, we had to have everything in by the end of 2019. And then that got delayed, from the PTI approval process on their end of things. It got delayed, they extended the program into 2020. So we need to have, if we're going to qualify, then we need to have the, so we need to have the loan awarded by the end of the year. So technically, we could go till November. November is the end of their year.
Fiscal year.
Right, so you need to have it in by August or September to give them time to review it, and if their review speeds are the same as they were last year, that might not be enough. Even 3 months might not be enough. What we're looking at now is an award date of May. Again, this whole thing has been, it started this year, it was gonna be awarded in April, or March, then it hit April, and now it's in May, because of the delay on the EPA's portion, and now with them closing down, it could be, the timeframe is just difficult to nail down, because of the EPA side of things, but if the award for the loan program in 2020, we need to have the loan awarded in 2020, which means we submit, they do their complete review, and then say, okay, we grant you this much of the 0% interest. So I would say August would be a very end of an acceptable window. I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable if I could get it to them by June at the latest, but if they're not gonna be open until June or July, it could change.
My only concern is the EPA taking more than 60 days
Yeah.
to review it, and
Right.
because we have a
Very valid concern.
especially if some of that time is eaten up by them not being there,
Correct.
that's usually a concern.
Correct. And at this point, with everything being in flux as it is, we just don't know what that variable is gonna be.
So let me just, so I can understand, in the bids itself, they're making a commitment in the bid to eradicate or to lower our percentage by, they're gonna put a percent down, they're gonna say 90%.
So,
Is that the contractor that makes that commitment?
no, so
Who
the
makes that commitment?
EPA does. The EPA makes the determination on what they believe the level of reduction will be based off of our project, and then they make the determination, a different department of the EPA, DEFA,
Does this kind of
makes that
seem like the
determination.
fox watching the hen house a little bit?
It does, it's, the EPA's hierarchy and the way they work can be a little bit confounding sometimes, but.
Okay.
So my understanding, the more the reduction, probably the higher percentage gonna be covered by the.
We did it matches, essentially
Right.
85%, then 85% of the loan is zero interest.
Yeah.
65%, if they said, well, we just determined that it's 65%, then 65% is zero interest.
Correct.
Could be 95% or 100.
And we have no appeal to that, do we?
No.
Highly unlikely.
No, it's, much to Mr. Walter's comments, they control all the juggling balls.
Right. So they're gonna give us whatever they're gonna give us anyway.
Now, again, verbally, I've been assured that this program is one of their hot topic, programs, and that these things always land in high, but, in a request for a documented answer, that request was denied.
Just to interrupt for a second, just, is it okay, I'd like to make an offer that one of our esteemed members in the audience give us an idea, because he's an expert on Ohio EPA. Do you have any problem with
I
that?
don't have an issue.
I don't have any problem with that. Can I ask Tim to give us an idea of what he thinks, the process might be?
Thank you, Mr. Walter. Timothy Hicken, 200 South Fork Circle, Pataska, Ohio, 43062. Having kind of thought about this a little bit and listened to you guys talk about it, I've never heard of the agency asking for things to be submitted that they will then send through their crystal ball and give you on the backside a percentage. I almost think Mr. Walter's suggestion that we put it on hold or we call them is ideal, but of course you can't do that. And I think Mr. Schrock knows that having gone through so many different iterations of experts just environmental scientists that are our contact point at the Environmental Protection Agency, I'd have a real, I really think it's one of those, hey, this just doesn't sound right. And I don't know, can I ask, who, did you talk to the supervisor of the wastewater section or to?
So I communicated with Mr. John Owen, and he has passed it down to subordinates. And I have spoken to a different subordinate every time that I've gone.
And having worked there, and this is exactly why I'm so grateful that Mr. Walther suggested I come up and say, having worked there, that turnover is high and fast. And what they told you people may indeed just be incorrect. I mean, you just flat out get
It's
a new,
happened before.
you get a new environmental scientist in there, and they're like, well, yeah, well, this is how we're gonna do it. Because, so it's almost like, I personally think that it's a good idea to notify the people that gave us the bids, because I don't think.
We haven't received the bids yet.
We
Bid
have not
opening, it'll be a bid opening on April 10th, so that will be, they'll bring it in on April 10th.
So
It'll be
it's
a
coming
public
in.
opening.
So I absolutely agree that if we've got 60 there, or if there's that short window, who knows when the State Environmental Protection Agency's regular operations are gonna be ramped back up. I'm sure they're in emergency mode, but, you know, they're not answering this stuff. And that delay is only going to further go towards making their bids invalid, right? Because a bid's good for 60 days.
The downside to receiving bids and having a public bid opening is everybody sees everybody's numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And at that point, you've set the floor.
So
And
I mean-
nobody's going below that.
So I don't, this is thinking outside the box, but thanking everybody, telling them we're gonna clock your bids in, but until the Environmental Protection Agency is back in their regular operations and they can assist us with the evaluations of the actual processes that you've decided to hand us,
I,
we don't even wanna open.
Yep. I think I would even suggest, and this is for the committee, obviously, and thank you, Tim.
Thank
Greatly
you.
appreciate your knowledge with those guys, those people. My suggestion would be to potentially say, we're going to send out an addendum that says we'll accept bids on I'm just gonna throw out 2 weeks later, April 27th, which I don't know if that's even a valid date or not, but 2 weeks later. And that way, to make sure we are clear on some Ohio EPA questions that have come up.
Right.
We're not changing the plans, you know, we just have to clarify some funding issues, let the bidders know that, and then delay it for 2 weeks. Because as long as we give them 72 hours on the bid, we can delay it and delay it and delay it and delay it, rather than setting, and whenever the EPA opens up again, and we can actually talk to them and talk to somebody that isn't a subordinate, who may know what they're talking about, potentially, and I agree with Tim 100%, they could be just plain out wrong. I mean, just flat out wrong. And if we've got until July to submit to the Ohio EPA roughly to be comfortable, that means we've got to receive bids sometime by June 1 to do that.
Right.
That's kind of our critical dates.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, yeah, no, that would be the edge of my comfort level, yes, yes.
What do you think about that procedure?
No, I agree.
I don't
It's a
know how
fluid
we can
situation.
accept bids and not know how the funding's gonna
No,
work.
it's 100%, and in light of the agency being shut down, you know, it just compounds everything. The inability to ask questions and the inability to get anything reviewed.
Were you maybe talking to the glue snipping division? I mean, this is just crazy. That is so weird to have them, that is just mind-boggling. Okay.
Crazy.
I do not agree with it, but I have seen strange dealings with them in the past. I'm not
I have too,
exactly
but typically
surprised.
it's never, well, we'll tell you after we know,
No,
or
I
after
understand.
you receive all your bids, we'll tell you what we think, and that'll be your percentage that you're allowed to get 0% interest. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yep, no, I agree.
And quite frankly, I wouldn't wanna go under those requirements. I mean,
No.
if they come back and say 65%,
Right, then we're
we're on the
for
hook
half.
for 45% at a interest loan, cause we're not gonna be able to fund it, so, anyhow.
Right, right.
That's
No,
just my take.
That's, all well, excellent points. And I think we can do that. I think we can easily advertise a delay for tentative 2 weeks and see if the agency is back in business at that point or
Well,
adjust from there.
Yeah, and I mean, we're under a 3 week,
I throw out 2 weeks only as a hypothetical, but I think we're actually under a 3-week minimum close down at this point. That's what I've been, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I've heard. The government agencies are down for 3.
So I think we can do that. There's no reason.
But we just have to let our bidders know.
Right.
Well, let's see here, April 10th is when you're gonna receive.
Yes.
When did these go out for advertisement?
They went out last Friday. They just went out for advertisement.
So the 6th is 3 weeks from tonight. And that gives you've got time in there to tell them it's gonna be delayed.
Yeah.
Even if it was only delayed a week
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
You have time in there. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we definitely do.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's.
I think we could leave that up to your discretion on how to do that, but I think my opinion would be delay the acceptance of the bids. Just tell them through an addendum that we're going to be delaying this until April 17th or whatever the case may be, because we have some questions for the EPA and they're not in the office now.
Right. Right.
Okay. How do you want to inform council? I mean, obviously I'll give a review of our committee, but do you want to go in, I'm going to kind of leave that one up to you to give details on, or as much detail as you wish.
So I can give the minimal amount of detail that I have for why why it's changed. I can do that as part of my utility report.
That's a good
to
idea.
council.
Just, yeah, exactly. Okay, maybe we keep that to the minimum amount of information we can, so we don't get comments about how goofy the EPA might be. Okay, any other questions on that? No? Great. All right, funding for Jefferson Street water line project.
I just wanted to point out that we've, in a director's meeting, Jim Roberts from Hall comes in often and brought up the potential of an OPWC funding to help with our Jefferson Street water line project. That project is scheduled for next year. It's replacing the water main on Jefferson Street. And in some of the preliminary discussions, as we were gonna do engineering for it this year, the idea of an OPWC funded project came up. So the city has not done one in a while. We will not be in conflict. Street Department doesn't have anything planned to go to OPWC, so the timing's right. So that is a route that we're gonna pursue.
Wasn't there weren't we looking at the Summit and Broad intersection to go for safety money? That's Morpsey money. But is there any OPWC, what is it, 602 money?
So I don't know exactly what Alan the conversation was had with Alan. That I think originally he was talking about OPWC money, and I don't know where he is no longer looking at that. I don't want to speak. I think it might be from ODOT or a different agency.
ODOT has safety money.
Yeah, right. So so Alan was in the conversation with us talking about this, and he has no conflict with his projects and OPWC. He did say that he was originally thinking about using them, but now he's going to go a different route. I don't recall exactly what that route was.
Okay. Well, is this a lead reduction or is this because the lines on Jefferson are so old?
Yes.
That it's a lead reduction issue for PWC to improvement, or what's Jim's idea to get us OPWC money?
That I don't know. We have not hammered that out yet. So it just came up last week as an idea on a possible funding source,
Okay.
and the details are to come. So just kind of a heads up on what we were thinking.
Okay. Great. All righty. Any other, on the other agenda item?
I do have
You do?
one thing I'd like to say that came up late. So it is spring. It is time for biosolids application. We are, as a city, running on minimum staffing, and to be frank, doing the administrator and the utility position has limited my available time to get the program up and running again. So my thought process for the spring is to continue to use agri-sludge for the spring land application and focus on bringing it back in-house in the fall. We've been taking steps to bring it back into the house, in-house at this time, but with current situations being the way they are, I would like to use agri-sludge one more time.
Okay. Hard for me to argue with that.
Does that keep the sludge here though, right? Just the transportation.
Yeah,
part
it's
of
still
it?
on the same
Yeah,
field.
it's the same field,
fields
same
and
everything.
They just do the application
Yes.
and they do the reporting. Is there any part of this that we can do? I mean, I know we kind of handed it over to them, they did the whole thing.
Right.
We were watching and learning and doing those kind of things. Is there anything we can do? Can we do, instead of paying, I think that was like $18,000 or $20,000 for them to do it, I can't remember what.
For the full year last year, we spent 22,000.
22.
So it was 10,000 in spring and 11,000 in fall. Obviously, it's based off of weight, how much product we are hauling out. But same time last year was at 11,000 to do the.
Do you think they're gonna about the same amount of money?
Yeah.
They're not looking for more? Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we're in
potential
contract. It was a
11,000.
2-year contract with them, so the prices are the same.
Okay. Is there anything that we can do to help them and take some of that, maybe cut some, if we did the administrative part, could it cut $2,000 out of it?
So we did discuss that when the administrative part is complicated, figuring out, it's probably not for someone that does this for a living, but the agronomic rate worksheet that the EPA has, a lot of it is based off of nutrient loading per acre, per square foot, and that kind of a thing. And the bulk of the expense comes from hauling and applying. So when we discussed this earlier, we had the à la carte menu put together when we first went through this process. Us hauling and him applying to the field is not something he was interested in due to the mobilization of his equipment. Him hauling to the field and us applying is something he was interested in, and it was at a reduced rate, which is great because he has much bigger trucks than we do, and he does it in 3 times the speed.
I think we talked about even continuing that in the future.
And I definitely would like to continue that, just for the time and wear and tear. But so there's really just the 3 aspects. There's the administrative aspect, which is a minimal cost for him because he has these programs already built and puts the numbers in. There's applying to the fields, that we could do if we were ready, and I do not believe that we are with staffing being what it is right now. And then there's the hauling to the field, which
Which he's not.
he's way better at, yeah, it makes a lot more sense to use him for that.
So, let me ask it the other way around. If we were staffed, what would we have presented, what would we have done?
If we were staffed, we would do the application to the field.
This year, we would have done application in the field. We would not have done the administrative part.
The administrative part we would have as well, because we would be out there figuring out the loading rate as we're putting it on the field. So the big problem right now is time available and manpower available. So the administrative part is on me to be out there tracking what they're loading.
It's only a third hat. Come on.
It's not that many hats. I do have a pretty big head. I can probably
Hard
go
hat,
more on there.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, to be
I got it.
perfectly honest with the things we have going on right now, I'd much rather use agri-sludge for this grant.
Anything from your side of, any questions?
Just education for myself as to, this is with the wastewater?
Yes.
Well, not exactly. This is the product. This is the this is the solids that we take and store essentially. So we're not, big discussion many years ago was money to be saved from hauling it to the dump. So we came up with there was a land application idea that came up. We bought, an applier, we have a tractor, we had trucks, we were doing it. And it got to the point where we got behind and we had a pile of material. And so this company does provide this. Essentially, it was a $50,000 a year savings, right, if we did it ourselves.
It was $50,000 to go to take everything to the landfill.
Right.
So by putting it on the fields, agri-sludge is $22,000 a year. For us, it is maintenance. If we do it in-house, it is the cost of maintaining the equipment and operating the equipment, and the labor involved.
Right, so we decided to do this temporary time frame where we'd get just to step back a second.
Yeah.
We lost
Yeah.
an employee that was very familiar with this, could do it all, ex-farmer, I'll say it that way, or even current farmer. But he was able to do all that, he was handling it. Well, he left and kinda left us with the holding the bag, per se, and many bags. And so we decided to go with this agri-sludge to get kind of training for the other people that are there so that we could then go in and do it ourselves.
Okay.
In the very near future. Well, and I certainly understand in this situation, this spring, with Chris being, or being both administrator and utility director, that's gonna be tough for him to do, you know, the application rates also.
And spring has to be, is the application time,
Yes, so we do one in the spring, we do one in the fall. We have
just to keep up with the.
We have storage capacity for about 6 months at the plant, yeah.
And, what do we have the other company for, what, 2 years, 1 year?
So we had a 2-year contract with them with the option to opt out whenever we wanted. So that was last year, and this will be the 2nd year of that contract.
And we're looking to do it, what, just 1 more year as we need, or are we looking for another 2 years?
So, no, I'm just looking to do it spring, just
Just
get through
spring,
spring.
okay,
And then
one
by
more.
the time fall comes around, it'll be back in-house with the caveat of there's so much more efficient at hauling to the fields that I would like to continue looking at using them for the hauling process.
And that might be a separate contract.
Yeah,
price
it would
point,
be,
right?
it's a reduced rate from what they offer now. I don't know the numbers, but they gave us all the.
That's why we had him do it in a la carte, so we could pick and choose what we wanted.
Right.
One of the items was, they can haul, it takes us 2 weeks to haul, 3 weeks to haul.
3, yeah.
It takes them 3
3
days.
days.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep.
So it's a big difference. And it's
When you figure in manpower hours, equipment made,
Right.
time. yeah.
So, just last question on this one, for me at least. As we see all these supplementals coming in, and
Mhm.
we see a number of different pieces that Jamie is talking about that haven't been figured out yet, but are coming,
Mhm.
and I know you're part of those discussions also.
Mhm.
What, where do you see this potential $11,000 addition being, is it a supplemental that's gonna come to council? Is it already in the budget?
Yes, in the budget, so when we're figuring out the budget, a worst case scenario, if you have a run of product that doesn't meet the requirements, you have no option but to take it to the landfill, and that'll be $50,000. So we budget $50,000 for biosolids handling because
This is
of
another Allen savings.
worst case scenario.
This is incredible.
I'm
Sorry,
So,
voicing my opinion. Okay,
I have none.
I think that's great, Chris. I fully understand, given the situation that we're in with this, with virus and your staffing and your own, you know, running ragged at the moment, I can see us,
Things are backing up.
I don't want things backing up.
not that
Or,
thing.
or piling up in this situation.
Thank you. Thank
Do
you.
you, I don't think you necessarily need anything from us on that.
No, when no, I don't.
If it's in the budget-
Resolutions, it's all spoken for.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in the
just-
budget, we're not even doing a resolution, we don't have to we're not notifying anybody about a supplemental potential. And, you're just continuing on with the same
Right.
company,
It's
who
just
I
different.
assume has done a good job.
Oh, they've done an amazing, they do a really good job. They really do. Coordination with the farmer all the way through.
It's still a good deal for the city. So,
Yeah, yeah. So,
all right,
It's just different than what we had talked about, so I wanted to bring that up.
got it. Anything else that might come up?
No, sir, that's all I have.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Jefferson?
No, sir.
All right, I just want to make sure, I want to go back to the water tower maintenance program again, because, you know, in talking about the EPA and also the other news that is up today, you know, with Delaware shutting down all their public meetings, there are many cities that are going to follow that soon, if they aren't already. I'm concerned about, I mean, the resolutions gives you the authority to go into the contract. I don't think you're gonna go into the contract without these two guys telling you that those questions that Mr. Jefferson and myself have posed.
Right, I did definitely would not.
So, I'm gonna, based on needing the resolution to be read, probably is a good idea to do it tonight, given that you've gotta paint that this year, you've gotta get it done this summer. I'm okay making a motion that says, we support the water tower maintenance program, given that you won't execute the contract until you resolve the questions with Mr. Nicholson and Mr. Zetz.
And that's exactly the route I would take, and
No,
that
I mean,
would be very beneficial.
If we have to forego a future utility meeting because of this, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're not gonna get that choice,
Right.
unless they figure out how to do public meetings virtual. So I don't think they figured that out.
Everybody Skype it.
And Mr. Yost is figuring that out right now. So we may be able to do it, but it's probably not going to happen. I don't know how he's gonna do it. Okay, so I'll make that motion that that the utility committee supports the water tower maintenance program, and that Chris will get advice from Mr. Zetz and Mr. Nicholson prior to executing the contract based on the questions we posed this evening.
Second.
There you go. Roll.
Walter,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Is that good for you, Chris?
Yes, sir,
I
thank
think
you.
that-
That's actually beneficial, it helps.
We don't want to get into
the unknown
situations with
situation.
the EPA.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else?
No, sir.
Chris?
No, sir.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Walter,
Yes?
Jefferson,
Yes.
Adjourn.